Well, I thought this might be a good opportunity to dig out the running boards and see what they look like. They obviously have seen better days. This one's got a bunch of repair in the end with some pop rivets and stuff. I don't know who's done that. There's a whole piece put in there. We're going to have a look at that, maybe redo it. And it looks like these things sit about right like that. Bolt through, they go through that wood, I suppose, and then all the way into the frame rail, I would think. Maybe not, but I would think that those bolts go all the way through into the frame rail. This particular one, the edge here is not rolled over. It's this piece they put in here is too wide, so the rolled edge all of a sudden is flattened out, and we're going to have to do a big rethink on that. A bunch of work there in that one. I don't know what the other one looks like. Probably not much better. This, of course, is from the other side. It's a little sort of monkeyed up here at the back a little bit, and the front doesn't look too bad. Kind of looks like it's supposed to look. I don't think they're supposed to be silver, and they should have some kind of strips on them, but they're certainly salvageable. This one has got something going on back here where they bent this bracket out of the way and cut it loose. I'm gonna have to try to figure that out. That'll be a project that we can do, is work on these running boards, although it's a little hard to you can kind of see on this other side how that bracket is, and I'm assuming that there's something in here. They're having trouble getting a bolt going through here, so they've monkeyed that up a little bit. We'll have to work on that. But this end of this one certainly needs some work, and we're going to have to just see what we can do there. I think this piece is probably a fairly original piece, and then this other piece up underneath here has been replaced, so we may have to dig that out and replace that or trim it or do something in order to get this thing back into some kind of usable condition. Always something. That's where we are these days, getting down to the details. Yeah, that whole thing just came off of there. Wasn't on there very sturdy, that's for sure. We'll spend some time on it, see if we can save it. We've had a busy weekend here in the backyard. You may have noticed with the explosion of videos. We went out to Cletus and Cars and spent a couple of days there taking some video and watching the festivities, and it's quite an experience. We got a whole lot of new subscribers over the weekend. Welcome new subscribers. This is our hopefully weekly MGTC project video, and we got a running board here we're going to play with a little bit. Some genius somewhere along the line decided to modify this and bent the lip out flat. Don't know why they did that, and then they cobbled a piece on there, and we're going to start at least trying to return this to normal, whatever might be a little bit normal, but put that return back on there, and then we'll redo this end cap to try to get it back to stock appearing. We've got a couple of other big events you may know in the area this month. We're going to try to get out to the Mecum car auction, and we're going to try to get out to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and see if we can do a walk about in the garage area and pit lane, see what's going on out there. Lots of stuff going on month of May. Again, the Cletus and Cars thing, that was big event. Very well attended. Lots of spectators, lots of action. A little wet on Saturday, but everyone lived to tell about it. So that guy is sure an entertainer. Yeah, let's get back to business here and see what we can do. Got our sort of flanging vice grips here. We're going to try to get on that. Just start that back around a little bit if we can. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, I've got a little bit of it. Get a little tighter grip here. You get too carried away there. Well, we got something going on there. At least it's headed in the right direction. I think we'll get a little anvil or something that we can put up in there. Maybe we can use a little body hammer action there and try to work that out a little better. Yeah, let's see if this does anything besides makes a mess. Okay. Tapped on our edge, but we lost our return, so let's see if we can just kind of work that over that post a little bit. And we're getting there a little bit. Better not get too greedy there. Let's try our flanging pliers here a little bit more. Get a little bit lower grip. I think we'll stick with that. It's not too bad, better than it was, and we'll work this new piece in. Had some information given to us by our group of advisors, which is you guys watching. And you might remember quite a few videos ago where we made these pieces, made new ones for the box there above the rear end housing. So these are the old ones. Never throw anything away. And I did here just actually recently notice these little fasteners in the bottom, and there's just a cut, sort of a router cut in the bottom there, and then a hole down through, and that's threaded, and that allows you to bolt the lid over the rear end down through and into that fastener. So we're going to have to dig those little brackets out of these old pieces of wood. Got one there and one there, and make sure that our new pieces are relieved like that is. We'll just take our router or whatever, go through there and cut a little cut. And the problem is I certainly don't have a tap, whatever oddball size that is, so we'll have to figure that out later. But we're going to go ahead and get those out, get them cleaned up, get them put into new pieces. And quite honestly, I think our advice was to start from the back and work forward. And we have done some work. We did some work prior On the rear, we've got the whole plywood rear bulkhead made, and bent up some sheet metal for the bottom of the side curtain tray, and we've got that stuff kind of mocked up back there, and it may be time to start fastening that stuff together and as they say, work your way forward. I think that I held off on that because I didn't have the corner pieces up at the top corners and the very top piece, and those pieces will come in the wood order along with the sides, the shoulders, and all the rest of it. So we are headed in that direction, let's put it that way. We've got all of the wood out from under the sheet metal on the side, but I think we've made sort of one problem for ourselves that we're going to have to fix, and that is that we have the firewall bolted to that inner frame assembly, and the leading edge of the sheet metal is still tacked into that inner piece of wood, so that makes it impossible to get the sheet metal out of there. We're not bolted up tight, we just have the bolts in the holes, but it looks like we may have to separate that bulkhead and move it forward in order to really do that work properly. And well, that's just comes from ignorance and not doing things in the right order, but that's okay, live and learn. We'll get it figured out, and we'll get things going the right way. I think that we've gone about as far as we can go with these running boards. This one especially here had a new piece sort of tattooed on the front. We got that end, got that other metal cleaned off of there, and got this end cleaned up. You know, I thought I was the world's worst welder, but this guy beat me. I have no idea what that's supposed to be or what to do with it. Spend some time grinding it all off of there when the time comes, but it's just a mess. I mean, we might get to the point where I just make a new one of these end caps. It's not really that complicated. A couple of bends on some metal, so we'll think about that. The piece down here, we really don't know how much we need to add. I mean, obviously this needs to come out here somewhere, and we really don't know where that is until we get the wings, as they call them, or the fenders, and get bolted at least up to the rear fender and see how much of a gap we have in the front fender to make this filler piece. And like I said, at that point it may be a good idea just to make a new one of these instead of tattooing a filler piece on here and tattooing it on there. If we just make this top flange longer to go back and pick up that running board where it needs to be, that might be the best solution all the way around. But we can't really do that until we get a little further down the road. So we'll get back on our woodwork. We did get our little toggles, whatever you want to call them, our little inserts, nut plates, dug out of the old wood and cleaned up and sprayed with some rust reformer, and we'll see if we can run a tap of some kind through there. I'm sure they're British standard threads. I might make a run to the hardware store and see if I can find a couple of these that are 1/4 20. Either that or I got to find a couple of bolts that'll screw into this, We'll just have to wait and see what we have to do there. So the other thing that we've done, you may remember from quite a few videos ago that we made these side pieces in our milling machine, and we made a new front piece of this frame, and we're reusing, at least for the time being, the rear cross beam. So we've got that frame set in there over the rear end. Of course, it bolts through here. We've got our new piece of wood in here, and then we also have a new lid that we made for this box, and we've stained it black on the top side, and then actually on both sides, and then we've sprayed the underside with some they call it undercoat texture paint, hopefully to protect that. And we've had that sitting in there. It fits real nice in the frame. We've got to get over to those side pieces and mill out a notch for our little T-nuts to go down in there. So we've got to do that, and probably, to be honest with you, I'll probably just stick that piece of wood back in the milling machine and take the end mill and just cut a little groove in there. Either that or we've got to do it with a router. End mill in the middle of the milling machine is probably the way to go. And then we get to work on our box back there for side curtains, and get going on that. We have our original sort of front bar here that's really not in bad shape, but we made a new one anyway. So that will get us our base in there as we bolt those sides to the metal rails underneath, and then build that box and essentially go both directions off the box, and get our wood pieces going. So that's the project. Get those pieces out of there and get those slots milled in there and call it a day.